Oh, I've got a feeling I'm going to be regretting that later. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dark Souls, because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I felt that it was a good idea to play this game from beginning to end. But unlike other Let's Play series, I think what I'm going to be doing is taking the time to edit this properly and then having a voiceover on top. And that's simply because Dark Souls isn't a game that you can really enjoy watching for the most part. And I say that because the majority of playing Dark Souls is the enjoyment of exploring and the enjoyment of playing the combat and fighting lots of things and dying horribly and awkwardly, as I do many, many times in this video. You'll be glad to see nothing better than watching somebody make a fool of themselves on the internet. So the reason I'm playing this game, as those of you who probably, well, two of you who've been watching previously, this has been largely, or exclusively rather, a Hearthstone channel. And the reason that I've kind of stopped playing altogether, hang on, 3, 2, 1, I've watched this footage many times more than I would have cared to, but I've learned a lot doing it. Anyway, with regards to Hearthstone, it's a lovely game. I love it to pieces. I still play occasionally, and my son loves it to pieces. The problem that comes with it is largely due to the fact that it's difficult beyond measure to stay competitive in that game. New packs come out all the time, and it's not meant to be a game that you only play for free. Blizzard has a right to make money, and the easiest way of doing that is to make it extremely difficult for people to do what I do and not pay a dot towards the game in any way, shape or measure. The difficulty with this, though, is that I don't have the money that's required to stay competitive in that game, and neither do I have the time to really make the most of all of the free-to-play aspects of it. I mean, there's plenty to keep you entertained in Hearthstone, and there's plenty of ways of getting free cards. It's not a game that requires you to play money, that requires you to pay lots of money in order to be competitive. Terrible at this game. I don't know why I've given myself this utter punishment of game. This next clip will show you just quite how utterly inadequate I am. And 3, 2, 1. Terrible. That's a 10-second game. For those who are familiar, you will hopefully understand my pain in having to run all this distance just to die that quickly. But this is Dark Souls. It's why we love it. So, I think I've explained enough about Hearthstone enough, and it's time that I talk more about the game that I'm playing. This is easily one of the best representations of a dark fantasy, sort of horror-type game that I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Demon's Souls is a game that I would thoroughly love the chance to play, but it's very unlikely that From Software, who also made the Dark Souls trilogy and Bloodborne, it's very doubtful that they'll be bringing Demon's Souls to the PC anytime soon. It wasn't particularly popular, as far as I was aware, outside of Japan on PlayStation, where it came out first, PlayStation 3 that is. And again, doubtful it'll ever come, but many have said that it is not even a precursor to Dark Souls. It is even harder, just even more challenging, and some would say that that's a balance issue, that a lot of the fights are fairly unfair, but I've never played it, I can't comment. I can only say that I've heard things about it. Having given my PlayStation 3 to my son, I don't even have the option or the ability to ever play it, so I'm going to just have to listen to others' adventures and moanings about it. Again, I still go off topic entirely. So basically, the run that I'm doing on Dark Souls here is to get the biggest type of greatsword, the most powerful type of greatsword, as quickly as possible, and then try and complete the game in a relatively fast time. It's not the fastest way of completing the game, and probably the least optimal way as well, but I always had difficulty playing with the greatswords, namely, not greatswords. Are they greatswords? I can't remember the terminology now. Basically, the Zweihander, which is the sword I'm currently wielding on screen at the moment. Swords of this size and of this particular stance, where really big sweeping blows come into the fore, and it's you're using enormous amounts of stamina in order to wield it, and leave yourself extremely open. But you're striking with extreme damage. That is a style that I always struggled with in this game. Later on, I come across a weapon that I'm far more familiar with, and is actually, in my opinion, a little bit broken, just because it gives a really good balance of distance and damage and range in order to sort of take out both multiple weaker enemies and also singular stronger ones. That it kind of makes the game considerably easier than it should be, I feel. A lot more patience and timing should come into the combat, which I prove here after defeating a Dark Knight or Demon Knight, whichever the terminology is for the lore to mention about the character I just defeated. I get a bit cocky and I go straight onto the Valley of the Drakes, which is a very, very, very highly level area. I don't do too badly at this point, but what happens is I get cocky very quickly, and I go, yeah, I can take this out really quickly by switching to a far more exposed two-handed approach, and as you can see, I missed a timing, and it's now, I already have the halberd at this point, yeah, so I like the halberd. The halberd is extremely good, but it is a bit easy to play the game with. However, when you do things like that, it proves that I am just entirely incapable, more than like eliciting how broken a particular weapon is or isn't. So yes, on my quest to find the biggest, baddest, most terribly awesome sword, I obviously come to the next of the progressively harder, well, people would disagree, maybe, the bigger, badder, stronger, tougher Demon Knights. You might be recognising the footage at this point. Yes, I decided to put one of my most stupidest deaths as my title sequence, namely because I got this cool shot of this Demon Knight right up close as he just stares me down for some reason. This is even stupider though, because I don't even know quite how he managed to get that many opening things on me. But I ran away, healed up, and came straight back to try and just chip his health away. I mean, considering that with this I'm doing about 100 damage a hit, and it takes many, 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 many hits in order to whittle him down. These are essentially just minute boss battles. Anyone who's played Dark Souls will know, but for those who perhaps haven't, Dark Souls is famed for its utterly screen-filling enemies, bosses that take some time and some duration to figure out the patterns and the best way of taking them down is. There's many tutorials online by now in order to optimize your way of doing so, and I don't listen to any of them. I find it much easier and much more preferable to find my own way. There's just something more rewarding about slowly building up your skill set. But the thing that I love about the types of sword that I'm currently wielding is the fact that it is very slow and it's very exposed. Your timing has to be perfect to make the weapon a success. You have to know exactly. You see, that was a perfect example. I completely misjudged the length and the reach of this particular weapon. And as time goes on, I get more and more impatient as he slowly whittles away even my Estus reserves. And I start getting even more desperate with more desperate swings. So I kill him, I get the Greatsword, which is brilliant. That would have been extremely depressing if I didn't get it. So I try it out, obviously, but I am woefully underleveled to wield it at the moment. I think the minimum is a 32 or 35 strength. So I'm doing no damage of any kind, and soon switch out to the good old faithful, I've forgotten the name of it now, but this weapon, the sort of pike weapon. I'm not even going to attempt to try and remember the name of it. This particular section is when I started to farm. After I'd gotten the gear in the area that I wanted, I started to try and tackle these sort of higher level, regularly dispensing sort of 200-ish soul beasties. But I quickly gave up on this particular area. After a couple of runs, I suddenly realised that the likelihood of me being overrun and losing souls was far more likely than me ever, as you can see, gaining them. And perhaps that's just my rustiness with this particular area. But in all fairness, I think it'd be better if I stuck to areas that I knew what I was doing. Yes, so I'm stuck in this particular area with 3 of them. 3 crystal golems, and I struggle at the best of times with the best of weapons really to take down these foes. So an under-leveled a weapon at this point. This weapon is very good once you level it up. Again, for the life of me, cannot remember the name of it, even though I have just said its name moments ago. Welcome to being extremely tired after a day in a boring arse office. And this particular weapon at this level is really unsuited for these particular beasties, but I do what I can and slowly, gradually whittle them down. Once again, just proving that you can defeat any number of enemies in any given situation, so long as your timing is immaculate. And I mean immaculate. I mean to the point where you are not making a single mistake. There's a reason that speedrunners love this game, and I don't in any way doubt them. If I was even close to being as good enough to do a speedrun, I would prefer this game to many others. There's a certain finesse and a certain expectation and a certain level of perfectionism that you have to reach to even get good at playing the game normally. To do it as a speedrun is a particularly big trophy in any professional gamer's game. And, gaming is something I have a huge passion for, so why not? Why not try that to reach that same pinnacle that many others have reached? Not even many others, but just people who have achieved it. You get a good level of significance. Now, the thing is, I'm half tempted to ask the audience if they think I'm actually going to win this or if I'm just going to die. But the thing is that I've died so many times in this video, it'd be a bit silly to aim or to leave it on a low note. So instead, I do actually succeed in this. I'll just tell you outright, because if you've watched this far, there's not much left of the video. You're probably going to watch it to the end. Or you might surprise me and run away. And yes, sometime later, I work all the way up to 20,000 souls. And for those of you who can recognise exactly where I am, you'll know why. I'm buying a particular key for a particular area, which will open the door to an area that allows you to farm far quicker. This is what I'll be doing next episode, essentially, and hopefully I'll be doing it in a far more traditional setting. Thanks very much for watching.